This is going to be a difficult one, but let's talk Villa. Yes, and as you've seen from the title of the video, today we are going to be doing a bit of a longer video. You've seen it in the length, a bit of a more in-depth video. A video I've wanted to film for a little while, but I've been waiting until the transfer window was done, and I've also been waiting until we know sort of where we're going to lie after our busy Christmas and January period of games. And I think we're there now, and I think it's time to talk about, do Villa have the strength to finish top four? First of all, leave all of your opinions and comments down below. Leave a like on the video if you are enjoying the Aston Villa content. I'm going to start branching out into Premier League stuff soon. And leave a subscribe. Click the button, notifications on for everything Villa and Premier League related, unfiltered, unbiased, unmedia trained content around Villa and the Premier League. But without further ado, let's get into it. Can Villa finish top four? We're going to be breaking it down into different sections, which are going to be our January window, our injuries, our squad depth, the teams around us and the run-in. Can Villa do it? And as you can see on screen from the X, go and follow me on X, let's_talk Villa. This was a tweet I put out a little while ago with news of it, Concer's injury, which is 2 to 3 weeks at best, pending a scan. Do you think there's an injury crisis at Villa right now? And do you think that we can still challenge for top four with all the injuries that are going on? 41%, the overarching majority, think there is a bit of an injury crisis, which I think is hard to disagree with, but we can still get top four. 18% said crisis and no top four, and another 18% said no crisis, no top four, with 23% saying there isn't a crisis, but we're going to get top four as well. So the overarching majority of Villa fans are still confident that we can get top four, but a majority also believe that there is a bit of an injury crisis going on at the club right now. Again, it is hard to disagree with that, and it is something that we're going to get into a little bit later on. And if we go off of that tweet and just go up to one that I've done more recently here, AVFC fans, tell me, with what do you think's happened with our form, pretty much is what I'm asking here. How do we get it back? I think we've been found out a bit in terms of when teams press us, which is again something we'll get onto in our latest form. And we've had some interesting replies here from Wood Lightyear. No power equals passing ability from the back is gone. We can't go creative with through balls. Dougie and Kamara have to come deeper to retrieve simple balls, meaning the gap is greater and we need to adapt quickly. Absolutely agree with that. And again, it's something we're going to get onto later on. We go through injuries and form, but a fantastic reply from Wood. Thank you very much, my friend. Reese said we can easily get back into it with Digne not long left now. Concer will be back. Our backline should be Concer, Carlos, Torres, Digne. Hard to disagree with that. And we'll be passing the ball between the lines quicker. And at the start of the season, this will help with Tielemans being 100% fit as well, which he is coming back to. But again, he's looked a bit off of it as well. Again, thank you very much, Reese. Appreciate it, my friend. And then Marky says it's a massive overreaction, which I'm interested to delve into. Man City went 4 games without a win before Xmas. It happens to the best teams in world football. We're 4th in the best league in the world, 5 points off top, and 3 points behind the best team in world football, not mentioning 8 points ahead of 6th place. Again, Marky, thank you very much, mate, and I do get what you're saying. I think it's just, these conversations need to happen. These conversations were happening at Man City when they did lose 4 in a row. We're in the position of being a top 4 team in the Premier League now. We need to start playing like it. And I feel like with Villa and City, it's a bit different, isn't it? Because with City, everyone knew they were going to recapture their form and they were going to start firing and get back to where they were. With Villa, do people think that? Do you have the same confidence that we'll be able to do that? That'll be an interesting one to look into as well. And again, we're going to get into all of this stuff. Like I said, guys, there you go. You can see my Twitter there at the top. Let's_talk Villa. 85 followers. Let's get me to 100. I'm posting polls and stuff all the time and trying to get your guys' opinion over there. But let's get into the first segment of this video, which is looking at Aston Villa's recent form. So, in terms of the Premier League form table over the last 5 games, Aston Villa are currently 10th in that form table. Slap, bang, mid-table. That, to me, is slightly concerning. I think, it's no secret. I think that since the Arsenal game, we've looked pretty lacklustre in terms of how we've been approaching games, how we've been playing in these games. And I think the injuries do sort of feed into that, which is something that we'll get onto a little bit later on. But what I want to do is draw your attention to a couple of things. We're going to ping them up on the screen now, and I'll have a little look through them here live with you. And that is our form pre-December and post-December. So obviously we kicked off the season bad with the 5-1 loss to Newcastle. Then went on to win 2 before we lost to Liverpool. After that, we went, how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games unbeaten with only 1 draw in those 6 games, which was the 1-1 draw to Wolverhampton Wanderers. We then lost 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. That was a bad game. And then bounced back with back-to-back wins at Fulham and Tottenham. So you look at that, 3 losses, 1 draw. And how many wins is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. We contrast that with our form post-December. We obviously kicked it off with the 2-2 draw to Bournemouth. Then we had that absolutely insane week where we went back-to-back and beat City and Arsenal 1-0. And then the really, really good comeback victory against Brentford to win 2-1. And you'd think to yourself, oh, okay, 3 wins, 1 draw, we're looking good. And then, like I say, it was after that Arsenal game, and again, the Brentford one, again, it was a fantastic way to come back and win it in like the last minute. A little bit of fluff floating around there. But the 1-1 draw to Sheffield United, yes, you think, okay, it's still a point. We picked up a point, it's a draw. It was at home against Sheffield United, who were bottom of the table. We should have been winning that. After that, obviously, the 3-2 loss to Manchester United, which was a terrible, terrible one to take. We then bounced back with a fluky, let's be honest, win against Burnley, who were down to 10 men and still looked good against us. A 0-0 draw against Everton that we easily could have lost if Emi Martinez wasn't in goal. And then the 3-1 loss to Newcastle. We bounced back with the 5-0 win against Sheffield United. So in there, we have 5 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses. And you look at our last 5 in particular, which is what I highlighted with our form guide. We're 10th in the Premier League form table over the last 5 games. That is a loss, a win, a draw, a loss, a win. 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. That's not the type of form that gets you into the top 4. But is it our form? Would be the question that I ask you, my fellow Villa fans. Is it our form that's been worrying, or how we've been playing? There's been loads of those games where we just don't look like a team that can win, if we're being honest with ourselves here. We were 2-0 up against United. I remember that game, and I remember turning around to the missus and saying, I just don't think we're going to win this game, because we started to look lacklustre after about 40 minutes. And it's been much of the same since. Against Everton, we could have played 24 hours of football and not scored a goal against Everton. Do you know what I mean? And it's really hard to see this dip in form, because it's not just been the results. We've managed to squeak out a couple of results, which is important when you're playing bad as a team. You can still get points on the board. But we've been playing terribly in terms of attacking football. Defensively, we look all over the place, and the players are starting to argue on the pitch, which I never, ever like. And I get sometimes when you set these high standards and they start to slip, these players probably got it in their head that they should be playing for top 4, which they should be. And then when it starts playing to dip, do the players' heads go? Dougie Luiz, he's been looking like an angry man recently. But that's just the form. What's behind this dip in form? A couple of things. One thing that we'll mention now, and then one that I'm going to get onto, which is obviously our injury worries that we have. But we seem to be being found out in a couple of ways. One, when teams are aggressive and press us, we don't know what to do. We give the ball away. We're poor. We can't do anything offensively. And we just get destroyed, pretty much. Newcastle and Chelsea are prime examples. They've literally just done it to us in back-to-back games at Villa Park and made us look like an amateur team. 2, we leave a lot of room down the flanks. And now we're going to have to be relying on Matty Cash to defend down the right-hand side or the left-hand side for the attacking team. And against Chelsea, they literally just left Ben Chilwell and Nicholas Jackson out on that left-hand side, and they had pretty much unlimited reign over that left-hand side for them. They run a riot down there, and we couldn't get close to them. And Carlos isn't Konsa, I'm afraid, and he can't do that recovery role as well as him. And it is poor how we're getting exposed defensively at the moment. We're not catching teams offside, which is something that works so well for us. And it can be that teams are just adapting and figuring it out now. They know we play this high line. They know how we push our fullbacks forward. They know how we like to build up in possession out of the back. They know that our team can't deal with pressing now, because we've been caught out a lot of times on it. The reason we beat Sheffield 5-0 is because they didn't press us. When you don't press us, we look like the best team in the Premier League. But I think a lot of teams would look like that if they didn't get pressed. How do we fix it, though? That's what I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. But let's get on to the squad depth that we have and our current injuries that we are going through and how this might be impacting our chances of top four. So let's think about Aston Villa's injuries at the moment. We have 5 of our first team currently injured, and 5, you would have to say, important players. Let's flash them up on the screen here. Starting from the bottom, hasn't played this season. Emi Buendia got injured in pre-season. We haven't really seen him play, a great deal of football under Emery. Obviously, last season he played well for him. Was playing in pre-season, looked quite good in pre-season as well. We don't know how he would have fit into this team, but it is still, I think he's still our second highest transfer fee ever paid for a player. Clearly an important player for Villa. Clearly one we all rate quite highly. And he has been missing the entire season. So can we really put our recent form down to that? No. But would it be handy to have a player like that around? Clearly. Up from that, we have Tyrone Mings as well as him. And, started the first game of the season against Newcastle, had to come off with that awful injury. Clearly in Emery's plans to be a regular starter, and we have lost him. Courtney Hawes, I think he's still on the way back. Again, is he going to be in and around the first team that much? Probably not. Luca Digne, again, one of Emery's regular starters this season and one of his best performers. Got loads of assists for us this season. Been looking fantastic down the left-hand side, and instead we've had to deputise Moreno there, who is coming back from his own long-term injury that he picked up in Liverpool last year. And again, that's an important player. Miss him. And then, of course, John Duran, one of the more recent ones. Just recently got injured in training. Ollie Watkins, backup striker. Now we're having to rely on Zaniolo, who is pants, in my opinion, to back him up. And the one that isn't on that list, because it's so fresh, we're going to flash up a picture of the god himself, who I have on the back of my Villa shirt, and that's Ezri Konsa, out for 4 weeks at best, I think, is what we're looking at. About a month now after colliding with the post. So those are 6 injuries. 6 first teamers, including 3 of our back 4 that started this season. Let's not forget, again, fair enough, we did lose 5-0, but our first back 4 this season was Matty Cash, Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings and Luca Digne. Konsa and Digne, again, constant first team players. I think Konsa must have started pretty much every game for us this year. Emery clearly rates him very, very highly. No Emi Buendia, no John Duran to back up Watkins and give us a second option up front. It's bad. And, when are these players going to come back? I don't know. Honestly, we're 1 injury away from just collapsing altogether, I think. Say like a Douglas Luiz or an Ollie Watkins or a Bailey gets injured. That's when you have to really start panicking. Let's not forget as well, we had JJ out most of the season. He's only just come back from injury, still working his way back up to full match fitness. Pau Torres, of course, technically, he was only on the bench, didn't make an appearance against Chelsea, and this injury's been reoccurring in training, so we don't even know if he's fully back yet. And, our standard back 4 this season has included Pau Torres, Ezri Konsa and Luca Digne. That is what we're looking at right now. I think there is a little bit of an injury crisis purely because all of our injuries just are starting defenders at the moment. And we play such a specific way in defence with the body language and the high line. That is where the panic comes from. But let's look at the squad depth. How are we going to incorporate these injuries into our plan going forward? And do we have the strength to do it going forward? It's the big question. What I'm going to do here is go through our official squad list on our website with you, and let's analyse the depth as we go. Obviously, I know there are a few youth team players that might come up as well, and we'll talk about them in that. But first of all, the one position that I'm not overly concerned about this season, and that is goalkeeper. Our number 1 there, Emi Martinez, the world's number 1. We're not worried about that. Backup keepers, Robin Olsen. I don't rate him at all as a footballer, to be honest with you. I don't think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, but we've sorted that problem with my man Joe Gauchi right here, who does look like a very, very decent shot stopper, and I think would probably be our number 2 going forward this season, with Robin Olsen dropping down to being number 3. We also have sort of like our young players. I know Philip Marshall's gone out on loan to MK Dons. We've got Sinisalo at Exeter, but we still have the other young chap, I can't remember his name for the life of me. We have another young, I think Sam Proctor, that goes on the bench as well. So goalkeeper, we're not worried about. That's absolutely fine. We scroll down a little bit more. Defenders, Matty Cash, Diego Carlos, Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings injured, Luca Digne injured, Ezri Konsa injured actually, Pau Torres and Alex Moreno, Callum Chambers, and Longley, Kane Kesler-Hayden and Courtney Hawes. So let's look at the positions that we're actually looking at there. Our right back, we have Kane Kesler-Hayden, who I think if we click into him, it should bring it up here. Number 29, no appearances this season, clearly. And you look at his bio here, he's pretty much been consistently on loan at Championship clubs, and he is our right back, backup right back, because the only other right back we have is Matty Cash, who I think everyone can agree is probably not good enough to play for Villa, to be honest with you, and not good enough to be a right back in the top 4 in the Premier League at all, nowhere near it. Cutback merchant, someone's got a Twitter account running how many Cruyff turns he does back on himself this season, and the numbers are out of this world. You know, if they were a positive output stat, he'd be the best defender in the world. So that's our right backs. We've got 2 right backs, which is fine. You only need 2 full backs on either side, because you go over to left back, and we have Luca Digne and Alex Moreno. Obviously, we're down to 1 at the moment because Luca Digne is injured. Who comes in at left back? We've played John McGinn there this season. Obviously, we did sign Lino Sosa as well as Costa Nedilovic, but again, they're both out on loan this season, so that's not going to be one that we're going to be looking at going forward. So at the moment, we have 1 left back, which is that man right there, Alex Moreno. If he gets injured with Luca Digne still not back, you know, the only other person we have that could play left back would be Tyrone Mings, and he's out the entire season. So let's look at our centre backs now. We scroll through here, and this is where you're going to realise where we're struggling a bit. Our centre back options: Diego Carlos, fit and playing; Ezri Konsa, injured; Tyrone Mings, injured; Pau Torres, unknown at the moment, back on the bench, but he could still be carrying a bit of an injury; Callum Chambers and Clement Longley. Callum Chambers is a player that we were literally trying to ship off on the last day of the transfer window. He's not included in our Europa Conference League squad anymore. He's been literally taken out of that. I don't know why he didn't leave. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, whether it's another Micah Richards situation where he's just going to sit his contract out with us. So at the moment, we've got 2 fully fit centre-backs, I would say, and that's Carlos and Longley, who every time they play together look like an amateur school team playing against a Premier League team. Especially against Chelsea, they were found out and they were caught out regularly. You can see what I mean here, you know, from the youth setup, you know, maybe I'd look at a couple of them coming in, but you can't be relying on 16, 17, 18-year-old centre-backs in the Premier League. It doesn't work. And the best one, the one that has the most promise, is probably Josh Feeney, and he has gone out on loan in Spain alongside Tommy O'Reilly. Courtney Hawes, worth a mention. Is he going to play for Villa this season? Highly unlikely. Still don't know what his injury status is. I think he's only just returned to training after a long layoff. Not good enough. We go to our midfielders. Dougie Luiz, John McGinn, Yuri Tielemans, Emi Buendia injured, Diaby, Zaniolo, Morgan Rogers technically counts as a midfielder, Bailey, Jacob Ramsey, Kamara and Tim Arugmanum. I would throw Amari Kellyman in there as well because he's probably ready to make the step up to first team action, I think, as well. So when you think about how we set up in that 4-4-2. So in the left mid spot, who do we have that occupies that? Jacob Ramsey, just coming back from injury, thank God he is. He is going to be big for us, I think, going forward. Leon Bailey could go out there, but he doesn't really. The only other one, we scroll up here, that you'd think about, Emi Buendia could go out there. Injured, he plays right mid as well. Telemans to an extent, but it's been John McGinn. So at the moment, we have 2 players playing out on that left attacking mid sort of position, formation, whatever you want. And it's fine, I guess, but in a sense, neither of them are actually true wingers. You look at that right mid spot, and that's pretty much been exclusively organised, taken up by Leon Bailey. Zaniolo does also play in there sometimes. So if we scroll down, fine. Where is he? There he is, Leon Bailey. And now we have Morgan Rogers that can also play in that right mid spot as well. So that is, again, something to look out for. I think we're pretty well stacked in that spot. And then centre mids, you know, again, I'm not going to include Diaby in the midfielders, by the way. We'll get back onto him. But, you know, you look at centre mids, Yuri Tielemans, which plays split striker most of the time. But really, we have Dougie Luiz. And where is he? There he is, the main man, Bobby Kamara, as well as Tim Arugmanum. So really, we have 1 covering centre mid. Because we sent Dendoncker out on loan, so we've lost that. Again, I didn't think that Dendoncker was good enough for the Premier League. Well, maybe not good enough for the Premier League, but not good enough for Villa at the moment, the way we're playing. But we're going to have to move players around to pretty much cover that centre mid position now, because the only true replacement we have on the bench at the moment is Tim Arugbenham, because of the different positions that other players play. Tielemans plays split striker. John McGinn plays out on the left. Jacob Ramsey plays out on the left. Do we, could we have used a little bit more cover in that position? Is that where Amari Kellyman comes into the mix? Let me know down in the comments below. And then we look at the strikers. Ollie Watkins and John Duran injured, but I would include Moussa Diaby in those as well as Morgan Rogers. Again, so you look at our actual squad depth. We're having to move players around. We have one fit striker at the moment, which is Ollie Watkins. That is it, and that's a worry. So last but not least, we look at sort of the fixtures that we have in the run-in. I think our fourth, third, and second last game are Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool, maybe something like that. It's a hard run-in for us. We still have United to play this week. Obviously, we still have City to play again. We still have Brighton to play again. It's tough. We have West Ham to play one more time as well. Spurs to play again. And the way we're playing, do you back us to pick up points in those games? How do we fix it? Genuinely don't know. We're not going to get any of our injured players back, apart from the likes of Konsa and Digne. Bundia and Mings are going to be out this season. John Duran will come back hopefully around end of February time. Thinking about when they said he was out and how long he was out for. We're not bringing any more players in. We have to be relying on youth players. Obviously, transfer window's shut. Did we get stronger over the transfer window? Probably not really. We brought in Morgan Rogers and Joe Gauci, but we lost Dendonka. We loaned out the other players, so we've lost a bit of centre mid cover. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, Villa fans. Am I hopeful? Of course I am. Unai Emery has done an absolute masterclass at Aston Villa, and I truly back him to be our manager for a long, long time. But these players need to start pulling their fingers out, because against Chelsea it was a lazy performance, and I don't know if our heads have just dipped, our confidence just dipped, and I don't know how to get that back. You know what I mean? I'm not a football manager. I'm not a motivator, so I don't know. But surely Emery's got to figure something out. And Emery's looked a bit odd in his press conferences, saying that we're competing when we're just not. So I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. I'm not entirely positive that we're going to get Champions League football and top 5 this season. And those are the reasons why. Our squad depth, our injuries, our form, we're not playing very well. We look lacklustre. We don't look like a team that wants to score goals. We can't defend as well as we used to. And I appreciate, especially what those guys are saying on Twitter at the start of the video. Every team has its dip in forms. And form is temporary, class is permanent. The only thing is, no one expected Villa to be top 4, so we don't know that we have that class, that permanent class to stay there. Were we just riding a purple patch at the start of the season, or are we genuinely a team who can challenge the elite of English football for those Champions League spots? I think it all relies on sort of the next 3-4 weeks. How we go into those bad run of fixtures where we're playing those top teams. And I think it starts this weekend with the United game. What do you guys think though? Guys, I really want a comment war down below. I want the comment section to blow up on this video. Please leave your thoughts and opinions. I'll reply to every single one as always. Are Villa strong enough? And can we outplay the rest of the teams around us? You think about that as well. Liverpool playing really well. Arsenal playing really well. Beat Liverpool. Man City look unstoppable. Spurs are starting to pick up some good results. Manchester United are starting to look like a team that we thought they could be, with the amount of personnel and players that they have that are so world class. West Ham, fair enough, they lost to United, but they've looked strong as well. Brighton, could they come back? Newcastle are starting to play good football again. It's a minefield out there, as the Premier League always is. However, out of the Carabao Cup, out of the FA Cup, we've only got Europe to focus on now. Again, we did start losing a lot of games. The amount of Sunday games we didn't pick up points on after playing in Europe on Thursday was scary. That's going to come back in March as well, so the fixture congestion there. It is worrying. But I think if we pick up a result against United, which this video might come out after the United game to be fair, then we could be Gucci Mane. If not, everyone was calling it and I ignored it at the time. All of my mates were calling it. The eventual Villa fall off out of the top 4 would be mighty, and it is kind of looking that way. But I hope not. Hey, I'll always back the boys. I'll always support Villa till I die. As always, be nice to everyone, guys. Up the Villa. let's get Champions League, man. Why not?